But for now, I'm homeward bound, singing, please, please, please.
I'm Jen Lowe. I became a Vater artist in 2011.
Stay right there, don't you go anywhere, please, please, please.
I play drums and percussion. I also play a little guitar and sing. Let's see, what got me started playing drums? Actually, I started out as a trombone player when I was in 4th grade. I don't really admit that many times in my life, but shh, don't tell anybody. Anyway, and I just, for some reason, could play drums. I got behind the drum set one day in jazz band, and I was just kind of goofing around, and I could sort of play a 2/4 rock and roll beat, and the band director lit up, and he came back and he said, "Who showed you that?" And I said, "Nobody." And he said, "Well, can you read this?" And he showed me what the lines on the page were, and I just kind of read this chart all the way down, and he said, "Do you want to be in jazz band, play drum set?" And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'd love to do that." So I think there was always a calling inside of me to play drums, and from there, I just stuck with it. And when I really started getting involved in playing drums is when I joined drum corps. When I was 16 years old, I joined the Florida Wave down in Florida and in the Miami, Fort Lauderdale area, and that's when I became really involved and very passionate and very serious about my playing. And I felt like I got an amazing music education from marching drum corps, and I had some of the best mentors of my life and got to make lifelong friends with people I still bump into and keep in contact with. I've been fortunate enough to tour to many parts of the world and play with a bunch of different artists. I spent some time on the road with Jason Mraz and Eddie Kowalczyk from Live. I've done some stuff with Ed Roland and the guys from Collective Soul. Done a bunch of musicals, anything from a show called Passing Strange to Little Shop of Horrors to Hedwig. And right now I'm concentrating on both playing drums and playing my own music. I put a CD out a couple years ago. It's called From the End of This Hallway, and it's actually me playing guitar and singing, which surprises a lot of people because they only know me as a drummer and percussionist, but that's a huge passion in my life as well, is to play my own music. And I'm currently working on a second record, and that should be coming out in probably 2045. So, so one of the things I like to do, especially when I get asked to go play a tour with a particular artist, is I love to put together their setup, and whatever it is that their music calls for, I try to put together a particular setup for their style of music. And one of the great things about playing Vater sticks and being involved with Vater is that that allows me to pull from an arsenal of different, pieces of gear and sticks and brushes. So for instance, recently I've done a tour with Eddie Kowalczyk from Live, and I played a palito and a cajon and a little stomp box, and I was able to play brushes, and I was able to play the cajon monster brushes, and it just allows me to play a variety of colors, within that setup. And then currently I'm doing a show called Passing Strange, and I'm playing a 7A along with playing the brushes from Vater, and also playing all the, there's a lot of mallet work on the cymbals, and so I get to use a lot of different products from Vater, which is rocky. So some of my biggest influences drumming-wise are actually John Bonham and also Ringo Starr. Then I'm also a huge Steve Ferrone fan. I love the meat and potatoes. I love guys that dig in really, really hard. And you talk about influences. I'm deeply influenced not by just drummers, but songwriters as well. And even while I'm influenced by songwriters, those songwriters influence my playing, my drumming, because I love the songwriting process. So when I'm playing drum set or percussion with a particular artist, I'm actually much more concentrated on the songwriting and the development of the song than I am in, well, what's going to be my part? How am I going to shine or something like that? That's not at all my process. My process is how can I be a part of the bigger picture? So I feel like Ringo Starr did that in such a beautiful way with the Beatles. I don't think anybody else could have fulfilled that spot, in that whole realm and that whole magical place in the music spectrum. And the same thing with John Bonham. He just, when you're a drummer and you can create parts that you can sing in your head and you're actually singing the drum parts, I think you're doing something that's immensely creative and beautiful. And that's why those guys are very dear to me in my heart. And then I'm influenced heavily by songwriters. I love Patti Griffith, and I love Casey Chambers, and I'm very into Americana music. So even while those are songwriters, you know, Ray LaMontagne, Ingrid Michaelson, it goes on and on. But even those songwriters are very influential in my musicianship overall and who I become as a player and an artist. So yeah, most of my education pretty much came from my instructors in marching band. I was the marching band geek for sure. And so I had teachers in high school that taught me, and drum instructors. And then a majority of my education came from some really great guys. When I marched drum corps, actually a guy named Tim Adams, who's now the principal percussionist for I think it's a Cincinnati Philharmonic, but I could be wrong on that. Guys like Al Murray and all kinds of guys in the drum corps world, Ken Brooks taught me. And then when I started to settle in and really get into playing drum set, I started being taught by a gentleman by the name of Jack Dukes down in Atlanta, who really took me under his wing and helped me to spread out and become much more dynamic as a drum set player. So that was really important part of my education. Other than that, I'm pretty much self-taught. So I am Jen Lowe. Please check me out, jenlowe.com, and make sure you check out vater.com. I do have a record out. It's called From the End of This Hallway. You can find it on iTunes and on my website. And I do have a new record coming out, hopefully very soon. Like I said, I kid around and say it's coming out in 2045, but it'll be before then. So rock on.